Okay, we'll begin with a preliminary homage. So all together. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Sawakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. So next we'll have a short guided meditation. So please take up a comfortable sitting position. Bring your attention to the body sitting here. Just try to be aware of the sensations that make up our experience of body. Your legs crossed or sitting in the chair. It's helpful if the back is upright, but not too tense. Fold your hands on your lap. Then you can either close your eyes gently, or if you notice you're a little bit sleepy, if it's very early in the morning, for example, perhaps leave your eyes open. And so what are the principal sensations right now in the body? Can you sense those sensations? For example, the body feels heavy or light. And you notice if the body is tense or relaxed. And we're just observing these sensations. You don't need to think about them or be anxious about them. Just notice. That's how the body is right now. And when the body feels reasonably relaxed and comfortable, you can bring your attention to the sensation of natural breathing, either at the nostrils or anywhere else in the body where you notice the process of breathing. Inhalation followed by exhalation. So can you sense that sensation of breathing? Or do you have to make an effort to attend to it? The breath is always present. If we bring our attention to the breathing process, eventually it comes into focus. And as you settle your attention on the breathing, perhaps just notice how quiet or maybe how busy the mind is. Can you observe the breathing with some continuity of attention? Or do you notice your attention slipping off the breathing or being distracted by thoughts? Again, we're just noticing this condition of mind. And we give more intention to focusing attention on the breathing. Don't need to follow the thoughts. Don't need to chase them away. Just direct attention to the sensation of breathing. Inhalation followed by exhalation. If you notice your attention being pulled away from the breathing, just gently, patiently turn the attention back again. The breathing's always present. Thoughts come and go, memories come and go, but the breathing is ever present. Maybe just for a moment to bring attention back to the body sitting here. Noticing if the body is still relaxed, body is still comfortable. If there's any discomfort arising, we try to relax it, relieve it as much as possible. And then turn attention back to the breathing again. Just following the sensation of natural breathing. So bring attention back to the body once again, sitting here. Again, observing that the body is relaxed and comfortable. And noticing if there's any changes in the body from the beginning of the sitting. The body is more relaxed. The body is less relaxed. Again, just noticing these conditions. This is how it is right now. And then you can relax your posture. Slowly open your eyes. And return to a reasonably comfortable sitting position. Be able to listen to the Buddhist teachings.
Good afternoon, I'm Paul, and hi everyone. We will now formally request a Dhamma talk. Loka tipati sahampati katanjali an divarang ayachata santi dasata paraja kajatika dese tudamang anukam pimang pajang.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So as I think most of you will understand, the Buddha taught for many, many years, 45 years. And during that long time, he taught many different teachings to a great variety of people. I don't think he actually had Zoom, but so this is a new experience. Since I can't see who I'm talking to, really. But one teaching which I hope will be of use to majority of people is one which is called formally the 3 bases of meritorious action. This is simply, this is the practice of development of generosity, morality, and meditation. This is dana, sila, bhavana in the Pali language. And this covers quite a range of spiritual practice. So while some people may have a preference for one particular area of practice, some people are very keen on generosity or very developed in generosity. Some prefer development of morality. Others emphasize meditation practice more. However, ideally, these 3 different areas of practice should be practiced together. And they actually complement each other, as I'll explain later. But first of all, I'll just explain a little bit about each one of them. So generosity, the first one. We are acting all the time. So as the Buddha realized, the principle of karma, if we develop skillful actions, then we get pleasant results. Unskillful action, we receive unpleasant results. So it's beneficial for the majority of people who wish to be free of suffering to develop skillful actions. So these are 3 particular areas of practice which the Buddha called them the basis of meritorious, or you can say skillful action. So how do we develop these? So the first one, generosity. In many Buddhist countries, the practice of generosity has been very highly developed. But sometimes in the process, it becomes a bit formalized or even ritualized. So sometimes the real purpose is sidetracked, is missed. So the real purpose of generosity, is giving, but it's also ultimately leads to giving up, letting go, surrender. These basically we surrender, practically speaking, things we associate with myself, things I call mine, my food, my clothing, whatever, my money. But ultimately, it's the beginning of letting go of, our grasping of anything as a self. This is sort of like the very beginning stages. For example, we may assume that these things which material possessions are ours. We go shopping, we buy something and think, oh, this is for me. But we try to practice generosity. Now we learn to share that, beyond me. It's say in a practical sense, it's my possession. But I learn to not take it to myself, not to increase my sense of ego or self. I have a new coat or something. I have a new pair of shoes. Actually, I have got a new pair of shoes, but but I know that they're going to be worn out soon. My previous pair of shoes got burnt up in the bushfire recently, well, last year. So I have to get a new pair. But I know they're going to wear out. And okay, if one of the other monks really needs some shoes, I might be generous to give it to them if they're really in need. But we have so many generous supporters here anyway that we're not short of anything. So, but of course, if I notice myself getting very, very attached to them, like walking around and kind of showing off my new shoes, then I better be careful that it's missing the point. It's increasing my egoism, my attachment, and rather than helping to just give comfort to the body. The idea is that these things they preserve the integrity of the body, clothes and shoes, and the food also. We eat not to enjoy the taste, but we eat to nourish the body, so we can keep going with the practice. So we can practice more diligently meditation, for example. When I was first in Thailand, I was living in a monastery and as a layman, and I was really keen on meditation practice. But as some people know already, when you eat a meal, sometimes it makes you sleepy, especially in the heat of Thailand. So I was so keen to meditate that I ate less and less food. But the body can't sustain that for very long, for short periods maybe, but not for a long time. So after a while, a few months, my body just collapsed. It didn't have enough strength left to meditate anymore, especially walking meditation. So I realized I need to perhaps, reconsider the Buddhist teachings about the middle path, the middle way. Eat just enough to preserve the strength of the body, not to overeat. So these are principles which are helpful to follow. Sometimes maybe it's hard to do it, but we try to practice in a skillful way to follow these principles. So the practice of generosity, sometimes it is somewhat formalized, so that people will make offerings in Thailand, for example, every morning. Monks walk around in the streets to collect their alms food. People line up to make offerings. And this is a good reminder. The little children, they see this and they have a good example and to follow in the future. To share their possessions with the monastic order. And this becomes a great joy, a source of joy for many people. They meet together, they have a community spirit, and they contribute to the well-being of the monks. And the monks share their benefit from the food by guiding the people, giving teachings. Many times they solve the problems. Villagers come to the temple with their problems too. And monks are available to listen to their difficulties and give them some skillful guidance, hopefully. So to practice generosity, if we really realize the purpose of it, learning to give up, learning to let go of these things, we have a different attitude to life. In our Western society, unfortunately, it's so much focused on individuals. We go shopping to buy things for me, and there isn't so many opportunities then to share in generosity, to take an example of generosity. Here in Australia, the monastery is quite far away from the city, so not too often we go an alms round. We walk down to the kitchen an alms round. But we don't walk on the streets. So the nearest town is 20 kilometers away. So, but our many generous lay supporters, they come out here. They drive 2 hours from Sydney to bring the food here. So there's a great sacrifice, for many people to come out here. It's a long way, 2 hours drive. I sort of half jokingly say to people that when they come out here, their merit increases. They get an extra 30% to drive the extra distance. And especially if you come on a rainy day, you get 50% more merit. It really depends upon the amount of sacrifice you make, right? If we know the development of generosity is about sacrifice, giving up one's time. One thinks about not only material possessions, but this is my time. I could be doing more important things. I could be, surfing the net. I could be, what do they do these days? I don't know. Texting somebody, I guess, but the purpose is giving up. So sometimes you have to give up your time and your energy and your effort. And the greater the sacrifice, I'd say, the more skillful action it is. Just instead of spending your time doing, say, self-centered things, like, going shopping maybe or something, you drive all the way out to the monastery, and, it is a very nice drive, actually, seeing the nature, but you have that intention in your mind. I'm going to the monastery to feed the monks. So all that time, 2 hours, you have a very skillful attitude of mind, skillful thoughts in your mind to give something to support the Sangha, rather than being in a shopping center, thinking about yourself and all the things you could buy. Usually you forget about the bill afterwards, you just think about the nice things I could get, but it's all about yourself, isn't it? They spend that time thinking about yourself rather than thinking about a skillful action of feeding the monks at the monastery. So 2 hours out here, 2 hours back. There's many hours of your life spent in skillful actions, skillful thoughts. So it does have an effect. It does have a positive effect upon us. There was when I was in Switzerland, we used to have meditation weekends every month. And there was one Thai woman, she used to phone up and ask us, when's the next meeting? When's the next meditation session? So then she'd come out there with her friends to feed the monks and the meditators. 25, 30 meditators also. And one day she was there, and after the meal, we're going up to the meditation hall. So I said to her, "Oh, you're coming up to meditate?" She said, "Oh, no. I don't meditate, My practice is feeding the meditators." And then she burst into this joyful smile. So as I walked up the stairs to the meditation hall, I thought, oh, it's a bit unfortunate, She came all this way to the monastery and practiced generosity, took the precepts, and she just has to walk up the stairs to meditate. Then I sat down, and after bowing to the Buddha, I turned around to the meditators, and there was 25 meditators there, all this big frown on their face, meditating very seriously. And I thought, maybe she has a better idea, with that joyful smile on her face. I think she has a better spiritual practice than some of these people. Okay, they were serious meditators, but they didn't seem to be freeing themselves from much suffering. They seem to be increasing it sometimes. Where her act of generosity, very spontaneously, was a great source of joy for her. So, this is the benefit of generosity. That's not thinking about yourself so obsessively. When you look at the bigger picture, thinking about yourself is a total waste of time, because there isn't a self ultimately. So who are you thinking about? some fleeting personas you're thinking about, that's all. And tomorrow is different. So why waste your time? Huh? So better get on to the second of these practices of meritorious action is morality. And of course, we most of us are familiar with the basic 5 precepts. And again, many people in Buddhist countries, they take these quite regularly, but I wonder how many people actually contemplate. The purpose of morality too is also about sacrifice. But rather than giving up or letting go of possessions, we're letting go of our compulsions, our desires, or maybe some of our old habits. Sometimes our unskillful actions are just old habits or habits we've picked up in the past and haven't really considered the result of. But modeling our life on these 5 precepts sometimes takes quite a bit of self-sacrifice. To learn to not only I'm sure most of us haven't got around to killing anybody or stealing anything major, but maybe we have some thoughts that way. But now if you reflect upon this precept, refraining from killing, for example, the first one, panatipata, refrain from the taking of life of any sentient being. I'm sure first of all, there is, the most serious one is killing a human being, but any sentient being, that's what the ideal is. So we can practice it, we can refine it. Say, oh yeah, I'm not worried about killing any person, but sometimes there are a few annoying mosquitoes around, but I got to be careful with that. So first of all, if you reflect upon these principles, you look at major areas of our life. You can say the first one has to do with aggression, violence and aggression, refraining from killing. The second one with possessiveness, refraining from stealing. Sexual misconduct. Literally the precept is to refrain from sensual indulgence. It's kame. So it's really sensuality, not only sexuality, but sensuality. How many times do am I careful about where my senses go? To sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. Yeah. So if we reflect on that, recognize that sometimes these sensual stimulation, how it stirs up the mind. And if if I see a beautiful sight, I can see this orchid behind me there. If I close my eyes, it's gone. Well, I don't need to enjoy it so much. This doesn't really excite me a lot. I'm not a flower person, but but the fourth one is to do with correct speech, watching our speech. How many times have we noticed, our incorrect speech has got us into trouble, saying the wrong thing. I'd be a little bit careful what I say. And the fifth one is intoxicants. Refraining from these extreme intoxicants, drinking drugs, but the ideal is to clear the mind, make the mind calm and clear. So any kind of mind disturbing substance can be distraction. So first of all, just reflecting upon these principles, we observe where we are in our behavior in relationship to them. Some people might have an issue with aggression, for example. So they have to look at the first precept more carefully and try and refine it. Okay, I haven't killed any person, but have I been aggressive to them though? As I spoken aggressively to them? You can sort of, kill people with your words, or really hurt them anyway. And then, maybe if the mind is calm enough, you can look back at the intention behind it. What's the lurking intention behind it? Sometimes behind aggression is your own insecurity. You feel threatened by people, by situations. If you're very, very insecure person, Many times you react defensively, which means aggressively. Yeah, but until you can see that, maybe you can't change your behavior. But modeling it on the precepts gives us a possibility to look much deeper. You know, I establish myself in this precept. I'm not going to, that person annoys me, but I'm not going to kill them or strike them or hurt them. Yeah, so when you can calm your heart within that, you can look behind it. Why do I feel aggressive towards that person? Do I feel threatened by them? What's behind it? So ideally, we can develop a much more refined practice of morality. 5 precepts, maybe 8 precepts. There's the moral precepts and there's the renunciant precepts. Learning to not have supper in the evening. I mean, it's the practicing that. It's not immoral to have supper in the evening, but it's a renunciant precept. Just learn to simplify your life. Less dishes to wash, less confusion about cooking and things. It's easy for me to say. I just like to leave it to the kitchen crew there to do all the cooking. But so developing the precepts, I mean, it's a matter of refinement. We say it affects, technically, the precepts have to deal with bodily action and speech. But behind it all is the mind. So when you're able to contain your unskillful action and speech, there's a possibility to look behind it. So what's the intention behind it? What's the state of mind that triggers off aggression, possessiveness, sensuality, dishonesty in speech, maybe desire to be intoxicated, to disturb your mind, to upset your mind, to distract your mind with something. Probably it's a bit of a stretch to say that watching movies is an intoxicant, but some people use it as a mind distraction, don't they? They use it to distract their mind especially from unpleasant experiences. Sometimes the movies or something can edify your mind. You can like this particular session now. I mean, hopefully it's edifying you and not just entertaining you. Between edification and entertainment, there's a difference. Entertainment can be a bit of a distraction. But we need to know for ourselves what it's doing to our mind. Just to say, oh, I won't do that. It's against the precepts. But you can take these rules as kind of laws or something to be followed. But it's more important to be able to use them to reflect upon your own state of mind. Yeah. So this is where we come to the third of these bases of meritorious action, is meditation. Bhavana. I mean, this word bhavana literally means mental development. So these days, I mean, there's all kinds of different practices that go under the name of meditation. But in Buddhist practice, it's a mental development. So first of all, there is a mental development in calm meditation, that is focusing on a meditation object like the breathing. Then there is a development of mindfulness, developing awareness. And the Buddha gave these 4 areas to develop awareness: body, feelings, states of mind, and what are called the Dhammas, various categories of the Buddhist teachings. So this is possible to develop the mind in this way. I mean, basically we start off with maybe a calm meditation, being able to focus the attention to some degree. And one of the results of a focused attention is a calmness of mind. These days, I mean, I think these days it's even more distractions around. There are more disturbance of the mind. Yeah, so this is a good occasion to try to practice a bit more calm, focused attention. And just what they find now, they've done a lot more research on meditation, the effects of meditation. And they find that more useful is the continuity of practice rather than the intensity of it. So for example, it's much more useful to practice, say, 10 minutes, 10, 20 minutes a day, every day, than to do 1 hour once a week. The point is that this regular practice begins to change your attitude, change your state of mind. And of course, this was something that Ajahn Chah was well aware of, because he emphasized not just only the meditation practice in a formal way, sitting by a clock for a certain time, but he mentioned the importance of a continuity of practice. Try to maintain some degree of collectedness and clarity through the course of our everyday life. And okay, I admit myself, it's easier said than done, but supported by periods of regular practice, a meditation period in the morning or in the evening or both, then we try to maintain that some degree of collectedness, calm collectedness, and some clear awareness through the course of the day. Of course, when you have to engage with many sensory distractions and have to deal with memories and other people, maybe it's not quite so easy when you sit alone in your meditation place with your eyes closed. But if you recognize the principle involved, calm collectedness and a clear awareness, those are universal qualities. We all have some degree of calm collectedness. Sometimes more than others. Sometimes it just happens more easier than other times. We all have some clear awareness at certain times of the day. If we can just recognize what those principles are and then try to cultivate them, encourage them through our life, then they can become strengthened. We realize what the benefit is a potential to develop them then. And sometimes it's hard to notice changes, but gradually our life does become calmer in general. We notice there's more clarity of mind throughout the day if we encourage those qualities, rather than rush through the day so you can get home to sit your half an hour meditation. You stop and collect your attention on your breathing. Just notice the breath comes in, the breath goes out. It's like it's a moment of remembering that importance of calm collectedness and clear awareness. And you can do this anytime. When I was in Switzerland also, many people would come to the monastery to do a meditation retreat. And then they were keen to continue. Back when they went back to their house again, back to their home and back to work, they were keen to continue. So they, some were very enthusiastic. Oh yes, I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and meditate for an hour before work. And I said, oh yeah, good for you, but good luck. Yes, the first day they got up at 5 o'clock. The next day it was 5:15. Next day was 5:30. So next time they come back to the monastery and I say, well, how was your meditation? Well, that's why I'm back here for a refresher course. Not so easy to do it at home. So I suggested maybe, rather than try to squeeze in, in Switzerland, people work very, very hard. So to kind of squeeze in an extra half hour to meditate in a day is not so easy, but I said, just look around in the course of your day, and you always can notice you got 5 minutes here and 5 minutes there. You're waiting for the train at Zurich train station. What do? Look at your watch, wait for the train, get nervous, or do you stop and just stand there and focus on the breathing? Collect yourself in the moment. Just standing here, breathing. And then the train comes and you get on the train and you get another half hour to wait on the train while you go to work or something. Yeah, what do? Busy reading the paper or fretting about the work that you have to go to soon? You just sit there, observe the breathing, sitting there quietly, body back upright. And then when you get off the train, you're much more collected. And rather than spending that time worrying about the work you have to do, and then when you get to work, you're so scattered or so frazzled, you can't do the work anyway. You just sit there quietly, collecting your attention. When you get to work, okay, zip, 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 zip. It's all very clear what you have to do. Yeah. Sometimes, maybe. If you look at the course, look through your day, you got 5 minutes here, a few minutes there, waiting for a telephone call, waiting in line, and it doesn't seem like much, 5 minutes. You think, oh, I need to sit for half an hour, focus on breathing for half an hour. But, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. And if you look at the end of the day, you've got half an hour right there, just fit into your day. And it's more important or useful too, because collecting yourself throughout the day like that, you don't allow your mind to get caught up with the busyness, the old habits again. You just stop, create a new habit, skillful habit, back to the present moment, back to the present moment. So maybe you can prevent the mind from getting wound up, the worry and whatever, the anxiety, whatever, just breathing. You may notice then that, this becomes a regular habit in your life or occurrence in your life. And especially when you notice your mind starting to get anxious or fearful, just stop. Collect your attention on the breathing. Even that breathing is anxious breathing, but just get to know it. This is the way it is. This is how the body reacts. Just be aware of it and look at the feeling. Does that feel good? Do I want to feed this? Do I want to encourage this? Or is it better to stay with the breathing? Let go of that anxiety and that tension in the body. And so you realize, these are skillful ways to reduce our suffering, breath by breath, step by step. Most of the time, our practice doesn't have a great breakthrough suddenly. It's like the the enlightenment of the Buddha, sitting under the Bodhi tree. I'm still sitting there waiting. But breath by breath, okay, yes, let go of that thought, let go of that anxiety, go of that old memory, step by step. Mara is not quite so dramatic, the way I see it. Mara doesn't come with a raging army. It just comes with these stupid thoughts and these anxieties and confusions, one at a time, and the important thing is to be able to recognize them. Aha. The army gets too big, it's impossible to deal with step by step, just one arrow at a time, And gradually, you learn to make this as part of your way of life. Say, like meditation practice. Maybe in the beginning, it begins as something, or same as generosity and morality and meditation, to begin as some kind of formal practice. Yes, tomorrow I will offer food to the Sangha, or I will take the 5 precepts, make these steps. I'll do 10 minutes of meditation, but after a while, it should become a way of life. Your heart becomes generous. Your whole being becomes generous. It's not just some kind of artificial thing you have to do occasionally. That's good too. That's good to remind us and reconnect with the practice again. But it becomes a everyday practice of generosity of heart, openness of heart, sharing. Not just only going to the monastery to offer food to the monks. And maybe some friend comes to you and, have you got a few minutes? Can I talk to you for a few minutes? Say, no, I'm too busy. I have to go to the monastery and feed the monks. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I can be generous with my time too. And then the person says, oh, it was so nice of you to have the make the time for me. It's just part of my nature. It's okay. Or following the precepts. It's not a matter of restraining yourself all the time, but sometimes when you mosquito comes by, rather than the compulsion, oh, mosquito, dangerous, I gotta kill it. Stop. This is a sentient being here. Yeah, it's just looking for a meal, that's all. And I'm in the way. Okay, maybe you can blow it away and go find your meal somewhere else, but but you don't just compulsively, swat it like your old habits, So then you notice your old habits are changing. That's the, and then there's, the longer term perspective is you see there's less suffering in your life. Less worrying thoughts, less remorse about, breaking the precepts, your generosity of heart. You think less about yourself. Before you're just obsessively thinking about yourself all the time. And now you practice generosity and you don't think about yourself so much. And if you don't think about yourself so much, not so many problems. I think about myself, oh my goodness, so many problems. But no self, no problem. You can say, okay, maybe a few, but they're much reduced. My problems now are about keeping my new shoes dry, We've had so much rain lately in Australia. My weatherproof, well, they were actually waterproof here, actually. But they say it's a dry shoe, but it's supposed to be waterproof. So, but that's not a great worry compared to all the anxiety I had before and confusion. That was about myself. Oh my goodness, endless problems. That was a few years ago, like 50 years ago. Fortunately. And once you learn the principle of practice, it becomes a way of life. And you just notice your life begins to flow with it then, because it is skillful actions. As the Buddha said, skillful actions give pleasant results. And every human being likes pleasure, likes pleasant results, right? I mean, you got to be a real masochist to indulge in unpleasantness, and pain. So you realize, oh, if I want to recognize, if I want to have pleasant results, then skillful action is very, very helpful. So you understand this at a very, very deep level of your being then. So you don't just refrain from unskillful actions. You have no interest anymore. No interest in killing and stealing and sexual misconduct. Because you realize it does have painful results. So no interested, not interested. Don't want to go there. Don't want to go there anymore. So, so then the practice, I won't say it gets easier because, as our mental development gets more refined, you notice there's more subtler levels to our defilements. See? But the subtler levels are less dramatic, less extreme. So it's less suffering, basically, less suffering, not so extreme suffering anymore. So the development of these three, I mean, why they work together now, why we should put them together is because the Buddha did say that the practice of generosity has its most benefit and best result when both the donor and the recipient are pure in morality. So that's why morality is very helpful. And then they also, if you're practicing generosity, it is to be able to follow that intention, that noble intention. It's very helpful to have a calm, collected mind. Some people, they make an effort to be generous, to make an offering, for example, but then they're very scattered. They're forgetful. They're very scattered. They don't know how to do it properly and get very nervous, and so their mind isn't very joyful. But if your mind is focused, and they say in Thai language, they say you have to dung chai. You have to set your mind, determine your mind. So you may remember that usually on occasions of alms offerings, when there's a large occasion for people to offer alms, for example, just recently we had a Katina ceremony, then the normal procedure is that people gather together to make the offerings, and then they take the 5 precepts, okay? So that their morality is pure at that time when they make the offering, you see. And then they recite particular formula, recite this Pali formula, and because there was quite a few people here, it was also recited in Thai and Vietnamese, English too, was it? I can't remember, but Pali, Vietnamese translation, and Thai translation, and Australian translation, I think. So that it helps people focus when they recite this formula, just like the chanting helps focus your attention. Even though you don't know maybe the exact Pali words, but Buddhang Saranang Gacchami, but it does help focus the mind. And if you know the meaning, I go to the Buddha for refuge, and it has even more deeper meaning for us. So then in these ceremonies, for example, you have the offering, they come together to offer. Some make some offerings to the monastery, for example. You have the keeping of the precepts, and you have this formula to focus your mind. So then they're practicing dana, sila, bhavana, generosity, morality, meditation. Okay? So they all come together like that, you see. So that's why, even though some people, they focus on one particular area of practice, and I should say something about maybe more about meditation and generosity, because I've been teaching quite a bit in the Western countries, and I noticed, and I have to be careful I don't generalize too much here, but I noticed that quite a few Westerners have difficulty with meditation practice, especially with the calm meditation. They find it very hard to deal with all their thoughts, busy mind. I mean, part of it is because they have a busy mind. Education and learning is emphasized a lot. So many people have quite a few things on their mind. But I think another thing is because they haven't practiced a lot of generosity, they don't know how to let go. So when these thoughts arise, many of them, their only alternative is to try to solve them, try to sort them out, try to analyze them. Where if they had learned generosity, just let it go, put it down, drop it. It's just a thought. It's even less solid than sticky rice. So it's like the people in Northeast Thailand. They put the sticky rice in the monk's bowl. You see, sometimes it sticks to their finger. but I think some Western people have a very sticky mind. You see, and their mind sticks on the thoughts. Partly they identify a lot with thinking. I am my thoughts, I am my thinking. But if you recognize it's just a thought, it's even more ephemeral than sticky rice. It just comes and goes, passes away. I mean, how many thoughts do you have, coming through your mind every second? They just come and go, come and go, come and go. So why hold on to them? I mean, which thought is really you? Just a stream of thoughts. So if you've practiced generosity, not to say that many Western people are not they're not generous. Once they learn about it, like when we're in Switzerland, the many of the people who came to the meditation retreats were Western people. And then on Sunday, the Thai people would come and offer the meal to all these people, and then maybe at the end of the day, there's questions and answers. The Westerners say, "Why do these Thai people come and feed us? I mean, we don't even know them. They bring us food." So they're practicing generosity, and it also helps that they feed the monks so we can teach you, And then the Westerners, the Thais say, "Why are these Westerners sitting there with their legs crossed?" I said, "Look at the Buddha image. What's the Buddha doing?" "Oh, I think he's meditating." "Yes, right." Generosity, morality, meditation, right? So over the years, the Thais have learned to meditate, quite a few of them, got interested in meditation practice, and the Westerners got interested in generosity. So some of them come to the monastery and they make an effort. I want to, cook the meal today, So, and actually people in Switzerland anyway were actually very generous, when it came down to it. They didn't have the opportunity like in Thailand where you see monks walking in the streets every day to practice it. But once they understood the principle, when people were coming to the monastery, they usually phone up and they say, "How much does it cost?" I said, "No, it's no cost. We practice generosity. You can make donation." "How much is the donation?" I said, "It's a free will donation, whatever you feel you wish to offer." But I used to suggest if they come, they bring something. Just bring a bag of apples or bring a loaf of bread. Yeah. So when they came, they saw, "Oh, that's what we brought today, we're having for lunch." Right, I get it now. We don't have a very wealthy supporter who's paying all the bills. We depend on people like you who come and make offerings. A little bit, if everybody makes a little bit offering, we can pay the bills, we have something to eat. Say, "Oh yes, right, yeah." Previously they were especially in Switzerland, everything had a price on it. When you say generosity, mine's blank. Generosity, how much? They need a price tag on generosity, you see. That's it. So they have to think. It's a different way of thinking. Generosity. You have to look in their heart rather than look in their head and look for a price. They have to look in their heart. How much do you feel you wish to offer? Yeah, so it's learning a new skill, and many of them are very keen, and I think in the process, hopefully, they learned how to use that practice of generosity in the meditation practice too. Learning to let go, to give up. These thoughts come into your mind. Maybe some are worth engaging. What's behind that? Where did that thought come from? Why did that thought come into the mind? Other times, just let it go. It's just what I sometimes refer to as mental garbage. It just comes in, goes out. Not really have a lot of value. Our senses pick up a lot of information. A lot of it is just processed. It's not really important. So if you learn how to practice letting go, generosity, some of it we just let it go. Not important. Drop it. We learn to be able to differentiate what is significant, what are thoughts that keep recurring again and again that I do seem to have a lot of karma with. I have a lot of energy with. Other ones, not important. Let it go. Let it go. But unless you are familiar with the practice of generosity, you don't know about letting go. You have to engage with everything, sort it out, analyze it, figure it out, do something with it. And it gives you a headache. Letting go is much more peaceful. So, once we learn this principle, it becomes a familiar practice to us, becomes very familiar to us. Not something we have to think about too much, And you realize that your life will flow much smoother then. You don't need to sort everything out. Things flow into your life and you can let it go and it flows out of your life. And, especially letting go of, certain difficulties and problems. I mean, some of them are just letting go of old habits. Recognize this habit, it's not skillful, don't need to go there, don't need to be reminded of it, just let it go, let it go, let it go. Gradually, hopefully it'll fade away. It won't be a problem in the future. So when we develop these three bases of meritorious action, you can say skillful action, we recognize that they do have benefit in our spiritual practice in general. And the real test of it is, we notice our life has less suffering in it. Generosity begins to flow in our heart, an openness of heart. The precepts become a way of natural behavior, free of any remorse or complications. And if you really practice without aggression and possessiveness and sensual distraction and dishonesty of speech, intoxication, your life is in harmony with the Dhamma then. This is how human beings should live, keeping the 5 precepts as a way of being. I mean, we notice then that our life is much more harmonious with ourselves, with other people too. I mean, if everybody can keep the 5 precepts, it'd be a very, very peaceful world, wouldn't it? Okay, maybe the economy suffers without possessiveness, but there won't be so much competition in the marketplace. People could just offer their things for whatever price you wish to offer. No price anyway. Speculation. And of course, mental development. I mean, if so many mistakes, so many complications in the world arise from people being, unclear, being uncalm. They don't emphasize calmness and clarity. Confusion, and it just multiplies, and that doesn't create a very good atmosphere to live in, does it? So we can by developing these practices, we can become an example of generosity and morality and meditation. And it's our way of life. You don't need to pat yourself on the back, and say, I'm a really noble Buddhist, but you just recognize that this is a very skillful way and meaningful and beneficial way to live. So it benefits ourselves and other people. So we see this for ourselves, and nobody needs to remind us then. You can say that we have taken the guidance from the Buddha in the beginning, but now we put the teachings into practice. And one of the sayings they have for somebody who's very accomplished in the practice is they're now independent of the teacher. They know themselves. They don't need somebody to tell them what to do. They know how to practice themselves. And so they continue with the practice, and become an example for themselves and other people as well. So hopefully these 3 bases of meritorious action will be something that has meaning for you and has some value for you, and hopefully be able to put them into practice. And as I always say, you'll see the results for yourself. We have the faith in the Buddha that his teaching is correct, but not till you put it to practice and find out for yourself do you really know. Does your faith become confidence? Yes, the Dhamma is the truth. This is I know for myself now. I don't need to believe the Buddha. I've seen the results for myself. So hopefully you'll be able to find some benefit from these teachings and be able to apply them to your life, and hopefully you'll be able to realize the result for yourself. So and may you be well and happy.
Annamayang Dhammagataya Sadhu Garang Dadamase Sadhu